From the LEGO Galidor series to Ultra Agents, let's see which one is more disappointing. Grab your bricks and let's build some laughs. The Galidor series. What were they even thinking while making it? These kits look more like turned-down action figures than LEGO. The elements have bizarre designs and weird joints. LEGO is all about building and creativity, but Galidor, it was more like, here's a weird robot, have fun. The kit was a total flop, instantly forgotten and discontinued. Fans demanded bricks, not these monstrosities. The figures, the playability was non-existent and had no attraction at all. If you wanted to create a castle or a spaceship, too bad, you had one job. Jack Stone was LEGO's attempt at making sets for younger kids, but it backfired spectacularly. The pieces were too big, too few, and just plain boring. Jack Stone himself was supposed to be a hero, but he ended up being a joke. The sets were overly simplistic, removing the challenge and creativity that makes LEGO fun. Kids were stuck with limited building options and uninspiring play scenarios. It felt like LEGO thought kids couldn't handle regular sets, which was kind of insulting. Proof that even LEGO can have a midlife crisis. Video tried to make a blend of LEGO and music, but it missed the point. These sets were expensive and the app collaborating with them was a disaster. Nobody bothered to use it. The minifigures were weird, but that wasn't enough to save the theme. It was a scenario of too much technology, not more of a LEGO. The whole LEGO was confusing, making music videos with LEGO? The fans just wanted to make cool things, not deal with a quirky app. Plus, the sets lacked substantial builds. Video was a miss and a big swing for LEGO, when LEGO tried to be TikTok before it was cool. Bionicle Stars was supposed to be a grand finale, but ended up being a lackluster goodbye. The sets had lesser parts, a lack of creativity, and just meh. The fans of Bionicle were quite disappointed. These sets didn't give the epic feel of the original Bionicle LEGO. Instead of knocking out with a bang, they fizzled. The builds were very basic and the collectible nature couldn't make up for the other aspects. It felt like LEGO was trying to cash in one last time without any effort. Scaleless sets were LEGO's trial to attract girls in the 90s, but they seemed more like Barbie's lost accessories. Not enough building and too much of everything else. The kits had dolls and lots of other little accessories, but they didn't look like LEGO. They tried too hard to be something they could never become. The pieces were incompatible with standard actual LEGO bricks, which was irritating. Instead of encouraging creativity, Scala was more about playing dress-up. Not exactly what LEGO fans were looking for. When LEGO tried to do Barbie, but missed the mark. Snap was LEGO's answer to Connects, but it turned out to be an answer nobody wanted. The structures were weak and the designs were weird. Snap didn't have the sturdiness or versatility of traditional LEGO bricks. The sets were flimsy and didn't stay together well. Kids couldn't build anything substantial and the pieces were hard to integrate with regular LEGO sets. Snap was a poor attempt to compete with other building toys and it showed. Stick to what you know, LEGO. Click-Its were craft sets disguised as LEGO. Not much building, lots of tiny pieces that were easy to lose. It was more of a chore than a fun time. Click-Its focused on creating jewelry and other accessories, but it missed the mark on what made LEGO special. There was no real building challenge, just snapping together small parts. The sets were aimed at girls, but they didn't offer the creativity or complexity that LEGO fans loved. Click-It felt like a step backward. The LEGO sports sets tried to bring the excitement of sport into LEGO, but they were clunky, hard to play with, and not very fun. Swing and a miss! The figures had limited movement, and the play sets were awkward. Kids found it difficult to create realistic sports scenarios. The sets didn't capture the dynamic action of sports. Instead, they felt static and dull. LEGO is about building and imagination, but these sets offered neither. They were more frustrating than fun. Speedors from Chima were supposed to be cool racing sets, but they were unstable, hard to control, and broke easily. More frustrating than fun. The sets didn't offer the high-speed excitement they promised. Instead, kids found themselves dealing with flimsy builds and pieces that didn't stay together. The racing aspect was poorly executed, leading to more crashes than races. Chima had potential, but Speedors was a major letdown. It just didn't live up to the hype. When LEGO combined Chima with Hot Wheels and regretted it. This set was confusing and hard to build. It didn't fit the theme and the final product was more confusing than exciting. What even is this? The instructions were unclear and the build didn't make much sense. The big rig snow escape felt like a mismatch of ideas that didn't come together well. It lacked the charm and cohesiveness of other friend sets. Kids were left scratching their heads instead of enjoying the build. A definite miss in the Friends line. Bionicle playsets tried to mix action figures with traditional LEGO building, but they failed to deliver the fun of either. Not quite right. The playsets lacked the intricate builds that made Bionicles so popular. Instead, they offered oversized pieces and limited customization. Fans of Bionicle were left disappointed by the lack of creativity. The sets didn't capture the magic of the Bionicle universe. They felt like a missed opportunity to create something truly special. This set was a nightmare to assemble, fragile, and not rewarding. Falling apart was its favorite activity. Spooky and frustrating, the homing spider droid looked cool, but it was a pain to put together. Pieces didn't fit well and the structure was unstable. Instead of enjoying the build, kids spent more time fixing it. The playability was low as the set kept falling apart. A spooky concept that didn't translate well into a LEGO set. Disappointing, because nothing says space like dusty orange LEGO bricks. Life on Mars was supposed to be cool and futuristic, but it was a dud. Weak story, boring builds. We expected more from LEGO. The sets didn't capture the imagination and the builds were repetitive. The theme lacked the excitement of space exploration. Kids wanted to build epic space adventures, but Life on Mars delivered bland and uninspired sets. It felt like LEGO was just going through the motions with this theme. A missed opportunity for sure. Belleville sets were aimed at girls, with a focus on dolls and fairy tales, but they didn't offer much building fun. More like a fairy tale. The sets included large, pre-made pieces that didn't allow for much creativity. Belleville was more about playing with dolls than building. It felt like LEGO was trying too hard to compete with traditional doll brands. Fans of LEGO were left disappointed by the lack of building opportunities. Not exactly what we expect from LEGO. The Ben 10 sets were an attempt to cash in on the show's popularity, but they were simplistic, boring, and lacked the charm of both LEGO and Ben 10. The sets were too easy to build and didn't offer much in terms of playability. Fans of the show were disappointed by the lack of detail and creativity. The sets didn't capture the essence of Ben 10, feeling more like a cheap cash grab. LEGO can do better. Rock Raiders had potential but fell short. The builds were repetitive and the vehicles were clunky. Not the adventure we hoped for. The theme was supposed to be exciting with mining and exploration, but the sets were uninspired. The vehicles were hard to build and didn't function well. Instead of epic adventures, kids were left with clunky toys. Rock Raiders had a great concept, but poor execution. It could have been so much more, because digging through LEGO sets is everyone's dream, right? Atlantis was cool in theory, but didn't deliver in practice. The sets were underwhelming, and the story was thin. The underwater theme had potential, but the execution was lacking. The builds were repetitive and didn't capture the excitement of underwater exploration. Instead of epic sea adventures, kids got boring builds. Atlantis was another missed opportunity for LEGO. The sets didn't inspire the imagination as much as they should have. Mars Mission tried to be epic but ended up being a bit of a mess. Confusing builds, weak designs. Not the space adventure we wanted. The sets were hard to put together and the final builds were disappointing. Instead of inspiring epic space missions, Mars Mission left kids frustrated. The theme lacked the excitement and innovation we expect from LEGO. It felt like LEGO was trying too hard to create something new but missed the mark. Exoforce had giant robots but lacked substance. The sets were flimsy and the story was weak. Not quite the epic mecha battles we dreamed of. The builds were unstable and didn't offer much in terms of playability. The theme had potential, but it wasn't executed well. Fans of giant robots were left disappointed by the lack of depth and creativity. Exoforce could have been great, but it fell short of expectations. Ultra Agents were supposed to be high-tech and cool, but they felt more like a low-budget action movie. Weak builds, forgettable story, the sets didn't capture the excitement of being a secret agent. Instead, they felt like generic action sets. The builds were uninspired and the playability was low. Ultra Agents had potential, but it didn't live up to it. Fans of LEGO and spy themes were left disappointed by the lackluster sets, because LEGO heroes needed a high-tech makeover. So there you have it, the worst LEGO sets ever made. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe for more LEGO fun. Let me know in the comments which set you think is the worst. See you next time.